Good evening. This meeting for the Rancho Board of Education is now called to order for Monday, June 28th, 2021. We'll all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have Board Secretary Noreen Scott present.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Secretary Scott. Kim, can you take a roll call for us?
Yes, ma'am. President Galbraith.
Present.
Vice President Morgan.
Present.
Secretary Scott.
Present.
Board Member Cullen.
Present.
And Board Member Coleman.
Present.
Okay, all 5 of you are here.
Okay, thank you so much, Kim. All right, we'd like to welcome everyone out to our meeting tonight. We want to especially welcome all of our directors and executive directors who will be giving a commendation to later on tonight. I believe we also have our union president and vice president on with us tonight as well. So just welcome to all who are here tonight and all those who are coming in through YouTube. We'll go ahead and get started with approving the prioritized agenda and proposed time allocations. Any questions or changes with the prioritized agenda as presented?
This is Board Member Catherine Cullen. I move to approve the agenda.
This is Board Member Noreen Scott, and I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Cullen and a second by Noreen Scott. Kim, can you take a roll call for us, vote on that?
I sure can. Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Secretary Scott.
Yes.
Board Member Cullen.
Yes.
Board Member Coleman.
Yes.
And President Galbraith.
Yes.
That is 5-0.
Thank you. The motion carries. Okay, I'm writing my notes in the wrong spots. Okay, for our next item is public comment. We received 2 public comments since our last meeting. Let me make sure I have both of those. Okay, our first one is from Alicia Heinrichs saying, asking us not to quarantine classes for next school year, not to require COVID vaccines, not to require masks, and that is the summary for that one. Our other one is from Terry Merkley, who is also asking us to show courage and to not have masks next school year in our schools and not ask not to push vaccines either. For those who are wishing to, we appreciate both of those board comments. We read through every public comment that we get, and we appreciate them. For those wishing to give public comment, please go to the RRPS board page. You will see a form on that page where you can give public comment. And once again, we appreciate receiving those. So thank you for those who do submit those. Okay. We'll now move to commendations. So if there's any of our executive directors or our directors on, I would love to see your faces for just a moment. If you want to turn on your camera, you don't have to. I understand if you do not want to turn on your cameras, but if you're here, I'd love to see your faces. I see Mike was brave. There's Happy. There's Suzanne. Wonderful. I'm trying to see how many I can get up on my screen. I see Paul as well. There's more coming on. Tana and Melanie. I'm not sure if I'm going to get them all on my screen, so there might even be more of you who are coming on that I can't see right in front of me. So first off, it's so good to see your faces, and I wish you were in here with us tonight. But I want to just start that on behalf of the Board of Education, and truly and honestly, I think our community as a whole, we ask that you accept our deep gratitude for the excellent job and that you've all done over the past several months. I think it's been at least 15 months or so as we went through this pandemic. And we're also grateful for the work that you all continue to put forth each and every day. This year, I know we always are talking about the COVID year, and part of me just wants it to go away. Like I wish we could forget that. But this year, the restrictions and the regulations that were placed upon our schools became an enormous undertaking for you as directors and executive directors. Each of you were called on to figure out how to make it all work. With these regulations in mind, questions were asked that demanded quick responses. Some of those questions were, how do we keep our students and staff safe? How do we help them feel supported? How do we help them learn and grow? How do we get our students food and transport them where they need to be? And yes, how in the world do we get thousands of students and teachers back into buildings when every single one of those buildings has to be updated? And it's funny because as I kind of was writing down those questions, I thought this is something that we would ask every year. How do we do these things? But honestly, we know the last year was not normal. These things were really hard to try to figure out. And thanks to your leadership and dedication, combined with your staff's teamwork and energy, we made it through. And not only did we make it through, but you helped our district to be a light in the darkness. There were many districts throughout our state that looked to Rio Rancho Public Schools as a model of what they should do in their own districts. Many of our student body felt such gratitude to just have anything that school, to have their sports, music, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, back in their lives. We are grateful that we have been able to see your hearts and rub some virtual shoulders with you this last year. Truly, you and your staff should take great pride in these accomplishments. We know that there were a lot of late nights and that there were sleepless nights just from the stress of trying to figure everything out. And not everything went according to plan. But truly, the work you put forth was remarkable. And again, we say thank you just for everything that you do. I feel like I've only been on the board for, just the last year, but I feel such a connection to each and every one of you. It's kind of happens that way, right? When we work through the trenches together. And truly, like, people in the community would say, thank you for the board. And I'm like, no, like I don't do a whole lot. It's all the people who work for Rio Rancho Public Schools. And that comes from your leadership and everything that you were willing to do. Everything you were willing to do this last year and every year before that. So I just want to say thank you for all that you do. And with that, I have a quick question. Miss Tana, is this your last meeting with us too? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
And so
It is.
I can't even believe it, and it breaks my heart to hear you say that. But I truly this is for everyone, but I also Tana, thank you so much. I always saw you as like the coolest lady when I got onto the board. Always such style and just really neat. And you have done so much for our district. And so just another thank you for everything that you've done for our district this time around.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's really bittersweet for me. And it's also surreal. So I don't think it'll hit me until here in a couple days. So thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure working for Rio Rancho Public Schools.
Oh, thank you, Tana. I'm gonna let the board say something to everyone if they desire. I think we kind of covered everything, but really quick, if Dr. Cleveland wants to say anything, especially since I brought up Tana, I just want to make sure that everyone has a chance if they would like to.
Well, I would just echo what you've said. I think it's, what we hope is that we leave things better than we find them. And that's certainly the case for student services. And so it certainly has really grown, and the services provided have been enhanced, and Tana's leadership has been a really key component of that. And so whether it's the nurses or the counseling services, or whether it's Title IX, or whether it's the discipline matrix, or all of those things, hours of time was put into that, and so she leaves it in very, very good shape. And so I too want to echo my thanks to her for all of her hard work, and she will definitely be missed. And just very grateful for the very good shape that department is in as she goes on to new adventures. I don't know what those are going to be, but I certainly wish her the best and thank her for her many years of service to this school district.
Anyone else? Will go over to Catherine. Did you want to say anything? Add anything?
Thank you. And we certainly, I certainly appreciate everything that you guys do day in and day out, especially during this COVID time. I mean, people were working nights, weekends, just going above and beyond, and we really appreciate all the work. And can't name you all because there's so many of you, but I just want to say that we really appreciate each and every one of you. And Tana, I definitely want to say goodbye. And it's sad to say that, but I mean, you've done so much, and I know that you've taken on so much with your department, and we really appreciate you. And hopefully you have a big vacation scheduled after you get off of here. And thank you so much. And we certainly enjoyed having you and got to know you over these years. So thank you.
All right, Wynn Coleman.
As I look out over on my screen here, I just, there are just so many special people, and whether it's seeing Paul present at the New Mexico School Board Association, addressing IT security in our districts, or attending with Lynn at the Brene Brown training, or doing some of the things with Suzanne's department, including the talent show that they had virtually, which was just incredible. And it just such a wonderful group of people. And I just want to thank you just so incredibly much for everything that you've done in the 4+ years that I've been on the board. And a special thank you, I wanted to save it for last, to Tana. Tana, it has been incredible to get to know you, and I am beyond thankful for your support as you've really worked with me on the Behavioral Health Advisory Committee, and your commitment to the all-around well-being of our students and staff. So just thank you to everybody. Such a wonderful group of people, and I'm so not fortunate, but I'm so blessed to know all of you and to have these wonderful relationships. So thank you.
And Jeff Morgan.
Yes, I just want to say thanks to all of the executive directors, every chance, every opportunity you guys get to do presentations, speak to the board. It's always a learning experience for me because, again, as Amanda indicated earlier, this is still an early phase for us. So believe it or not, guys, we're all ears when you guys are speaking to us, because we know and we trust that the information that you're providing is like the gospel to us. So I just want to say thanks for the education, for the learnings that you provided, not only for myself, but I think I could speak on behalf of other board members as well. So again, thank you. Really appreciate that, Tana. I ran into you in Albertsons, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about this, but just want to say, whatever you choose to do, I'm quite sure you'll be successful. So thank you so much.
All right, and then Noreen Scott.
I'd just like to say thank you to all the directors, and thank you for hanging in there this year when it wasn't easy. Thank you for doing above and beyond to make things happen. And I agree with Jeffrey. The knowledge you brought forward was invaluable to us as new board members. We kind of picked a strange time to go on the board. We had 2 live meetings before we went to COVID hiding. So really appreciate everything you brought forward to us. And Tana, I especially thank you and wish you well. Thank you.
All right, with that, thank you all so much. Tana, are you presenting tonight? I don't even know if you're on here. No, oh my goodness.
I am not. Nope.
I'm used to all right. Well,
So,
we love you, Tana. Thank you so much. And thank you all our directors for everything
Thank you
you
for the
guys have
kind
done.
words. Thank you.
Okay. That's always my favoriteest part of the meeting, is to go through that part. Okay. So now we'll go to approve the consent agenda. Anything that needs to be pulled off the consent? Is there a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. We have a motion by Secretary Suck. Do we have a second?
This is Board Member Catherine Cullen. I second.
Okay, and a second by Board Member Cullen. And Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us, please?
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Cullen,
Yes.
Board Member Coleman,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
And that is 5-0.
Thank you. The motion carries. Okay, going into our business. For first, we have a report. The Board of Education met in a closed executive session on June 21st, 2021 at 4 p.m. under Section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. The matters discussed in the closed meeting were limited only to those specified in the notice of the separate closed meeting. We have another report. The Board of Education met in a closed executive session on June 24th, 2021 at 4 p.m. under Section 10-15-1H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. The matters discussed in the closed meeting were limited only to those specified in the notice of a separate closed meeting. And another report. Okay, the Board of Education met in a closed executive session on June 28th, 2021 at 4 p.m. under Section 10-15-1H7 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act and pursuant to NMSA 1978 Section 10-7E-17J of the Public Employee Bargaining Act. The matters discussed in the closed meeting were limited only to those specified in the notice of a separate closed meeting. Okay. We'll now consider the approval of the June 14th, 2021 unapproved board meeting minutes. Anyone have any changes that need to take place on those? Is there a motion?
Yeah, this is Board Member Jeff Morgan. I make a motion to approve the June 14th, 2021 unapproved board meeting minutes.
Okay. Is there a second?
This is Noreen Scott. I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice President Morgan and a second by Secretary Scott. Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us on these?
Yes, I can. Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Cullen,
Yes.
Board Member Coleman,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
And that is 5-0.
Thank you. The motion carries. Okay. We'll now consider the approval of the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget. Michael Baker, our Chief Operations Officer, will present.
Good evening, President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the school board. So we have met multiple times with the Finance Committee and the school board in order to present the details of the operational budget. And the form that you're looking at right now is a budget summary form. And what that has to do is that's a listing of our operational budget to include all the special funds and grants that the district receives. Most of these items have been pre-approved by PED. There are a few items that yet need to be approved. We will receive award letters. Upon receiving those award letters, they will go back to the school board for final approval. At this time, I stand for questions.
Okay, thank you. Go through the board now. We'll start with Catherine Cullen. You have any questions on this?
No, thank you.
Okay, and Wynn Coleman.
No questions. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, and Jeffrey Morgan.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, and Noreen Scott.
No questions. Thank you to the whole team for putting together a great budget.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's always such a monster. Thank you for all of your hard work. Okay, so now is there a motion on this?
I move approval.
Approval of the, go ahead.
No, you got it.
You're good.
This is Secretary Noreen Scott, and
I move approval of the budget fiscal year 21-22.
Okay, do I have a second?
This is Board Member Jeff Morgan, a second.
Okay, we have a motion by Secretary Scott, a second by Vice President Morgan. And Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us on that?
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Cullen,
Yes.
Board Member Coleman,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
And that is 5-0.
Thank you. The motion carries.
And thank you so much for everybody for working on that budget. And it's a lot, especially with this year. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I certainly want to extend my thanks to the finance department and Tracy, especially this last month, putting these final numbers together and submitting our budget to PED.
Thank you, Mike. And then Dr. Cleveland, did you want to add anything? I apologize for not going to before we went into the vote.
I would just add the same. Thanks to everyone who worked on the budget, including the board, the finance committee. Budgets are very complex, and there are still some uncertainties in this budget, and Mr. Baker's alluding to that. There's still some changes that may be occurring at the state level, but this is the best data that we have at this point in time, and certainly any changes will be brought back to the board. But again, thanks to everybody who worked on it. It was a monumental task.
All right, thank you. Okay, so from that, it seems like we've been working on the budget for so long that it's crazy that we just start with that. We've gone through it. Okay, so we'll move on to item F, which is discussion and possible approval of the completed end of year 2020-2021 evaluation of the superintendent as completed by the Board of Education in executive session. Is there a motion or any discussion that needs to take place? Any questions on that from anyone?
Does Dr. Cleveland have anything she would like to say before we make a motion?
Thank you.
Just thank you for all of the information, all the feedback, and we had for the public's information, we had about 3.5 hour session. We went over a lot of this information, very great detail. But thank you for the feedback, and I know that a lot of time and work went into it. So that's all that I really have to say.
This is Board Member Noreen Scott. I would like to move approval of the evaluation of the superintendent, and I would like to do it with a grateful heart. I think we are very blessed in this community to have Dr. Cleveland as a leader, and she has done an exemplary job over the years, and I really sincerely want to thank her, and especially thank her for staying and continuing to lead us.
This is Board Member Jeff Morgan. I second.
All right. We have a motion by Noreen Scott and a second by Jeffrey Morgan. And before we go into the vote, and then if anyone else, we can vote. But I do just want to also say thank you to Dr. Cleveland for everything that she's done for us. You know, we just talked to our executive directors and our directors, but everyone who's here, you know, is because Dr. Cleveland's here and has been the head of our school district. And so many ask, how is it that we've had a superintendent for so long? And we're just truly, truly grateful for her leadership during, it's like the worst year of public school history in my mind. And so we couldn't have done it. We couldn't have done it the way we could have made it through, but we couldn't have made it through the way that we did without her leadership. And so I'm truly grateful, Dr. Cleveland, for all of that you've done for us and in our school district.
Now, I thank you. I'd like to say one more thing. You know, the work that's been done is team effort. You've alluded to that. This work of the cabinet and the directors. And I commented on Tom, and then we kind of went to something else. So I didn't get to say anything about all of the executive directors and directors, but whether it's cabinet, all of the directors, executive directors, we only made it through because we had a great team. And so they did a great job, and we thank the board for working with us during this year as well. And together, you know, we look back and sometimes I wonder how we did make it, given some of the challenges, but we did, and we made it. We made it through with, you know, with all of us still standing and our sense of humor pretty much intact, and but having done a lot of good things for kids. I've been at a conference the last few days, it's Saturday, with some of our staff. I was lucky to be able to get a complimentary registration and to be part of that virtually. But, you know, as I listened to the stories across the country, I realize how really lucky we are to have many of the really fine people that we do have. And so I want to thank all of the staff, and that's everyone. That's everyone. And the board has commended lots of different groups over now many weeks, and people have really appreciated that. But every single person in this district helped make us through it this year. And so I just want to thank everyone. I am just honored and privileged to work with such a great team. And that is the key to success. And so I listened to other districts across the country. Number one, I was gratified they all had the same problems we did. It made me feel a little bit better. But secondly, as I listened to some of the solutions, I realized how really well prepared our team was. And the executive directors were the chair of the reopening task force, and they took each one of those big issues and found solutions to them. And then cabinet vetted those and helped support them. So I just, again, I want to thank everyone, but including the board. And I know we have one more business item that will be coming up, so I'm just going to jump in on that one too. And thank the union for their work with us this year. We worked closely. We had a lot of opportunities to have some good conversations, and appreciate all of their hard work. A special thanks to President Billy Helene, who, along with Beth, helped us get information out every week to staff and community, and to the others who served on both negotiating teams for all of the hours they put in. It's much harder this year than it's been in any other year because of COVID. And so, it's a time of year, I almost think it's Thanksgiving, because I'm really thankful for all of the work that went into making us year a success. And my last comment is, it's not going to be an easy year next year either. And so that same collegiality, that same working together, is going to be just as important as it was this year. So again, thank you, and thanks to everyone who made it work this year.
Thank you, Dr. Cleveland. I'm going to go ahead and go with the vote, and then if anyone else has anything to say from the board, you guys are welcome to before we go on to the next item. But Kim, will you go ahead and take a roll call vote for us on the evaluation?
Yes, I will. Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Secretary Scott,
Yes.
Board Member Cullen,
Yes.
Board Member Coleman,
Yes.
and President Galbraith.
Yes.
And that is 5-0.
Thank you. That motion carries. And I also just need to say we have a great board, and Dr. Cleveland brought up like that when we go through these evaluation type things, it's wonderful just to be able to work with such wonderful people, and I'm grateful to have learned so much, especially from Catherine Cullen and from Wynn Coleman, who have been serving on the board for many years now as we go through this process. So thank you. Does anyone else want to add anything before we go to our next item?
Just thank you. We're very appreciative that, I know it's a team effort, but we know that you worked a lot of late nights, weekends throughout this pandemic, and we really appreciate all the work that you did. Except just a tremendous amount of work this year, and I know all the team did, but we could all see the light on late at night when we come by here. So we definitely appreciate all your work. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right. We'll go ahead and go on to our next item here, which is item G, to consider the approval of the ratified 2021-2022 proposed negotiated agreement between the Rio Rancho Board of Education and the Rio Rancho School Employees Union. So we have Michael Baker, our Chief Operations Officer, on, Mike Chavez, our Executive Director of Human Resources. I believe also Billy Helene, the union president's on. Hi, Billy. And I'm not sure if Gino Satriano is on as well, but he's welcome to turn on his camera too if he would like to. So I'll turn it over to one of our mics.
I will begin. Thank you. President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, members of the school board. The district had a negotiation team made up from Mike Chavez, Janet Chenault, Renee Salcedo and Peggy Johnson, and they did a great job. Teamed up with the union, and I know Billy and Gino are on tonight. I just want to thank both teams for essentially getting down to business, actually coming to an agreement. These things are often very, very difficult, but we are happy that the union had ratified the contract, and we are hopeful that the board will approve the ratified contract this evening. The board did receive a debriefing on the essential changes of the contract. In retrospect, they're fairly few, as long as the negotiations took. And almost every item is in our budget. We included in the budget, and we'll make some minor adjustments to ensure that the other items will be included in the budget as well. I'm thinking to move forward. We probably should just go ahead and stand for questions, unless the board would prefer us to go through each item step by step, or the changes once again.
Okay. Thank you, Michael Baker. Let me just go to, I know Dr. Cleveland just spoke, but let me just see if she has anything she wants to add, and then I'll just kind of go through the board and see if anyone has any questions. She's still, you on there, Dr. Cleveland? I know you just.
There we go.
There we go.
It's, again, thanks to everyone. It is a really good thing for the district to have a contract before the new year starts. And so it just makes it easier and cleaner. And so it's always good news when that can happen. So again, just thanks to everyone. And we certainly can send for questions if you have any questions about the contract.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll go ahead and start with Noreen Scott. You have any questions on the contract?
I do not have any questions on the contract. I would like to thank both teams for their effort in getting this done early. And I would like to do a special shout out to Billy, who really, really was open and forthright with us as a board during the most difficult parts of the pandemic. And I really applaud her and her team. They've really done a wonderful job. And I would also like to thank our staff and teachers.
Thank you, Secretary Scott. Well said. We'll go over to Catherine Cullen.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jeffrey Morgan.
No questions, but again, thanks to the group for the work. Appreciate it.
And Wynn Coleman.
No questions.
Okay. I didn't miss anyone, right? I can't see everyone's faces on my screen right now, so I was worried that I'm going to miss someone. Okay. Do we have a motion?
This is Secretary Noreen Scott. I move approval of the ratified 2021-2022 proposed negotiated agreement between the Rio Rancho Board of Education and the Rio Rancho School Employees Union.
Okay.
This is Jeff Morgan. I second.
Okay. We have a motion by Secretary Scott and a second by Vice President Morgan. Kim, can you take a roll call vote for us on this?
Yes, ma'am. Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Secretary Scott.
Yes.
Board Member Cullen.
Yes.
Board Member Coleman.
Yes.
And President Galbraith.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. And thank you, Billy Helene, for getting on with us tonight and letting us see your beautiful face. And we're we're just grateful that we have such a great staff. So thank you so much for all that you've done in our district and our teachers. Thank you.
And thank you all very much for your vote and for your work all the time. It's really great. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So with that, Dr. Cleveland, is there anything else before I hit advanced planning that I missed? Oh, she's
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Okay.
For some reason, I'm pushing it and I'm not getting it to turn on. So my apologies. No, I do not have any additional things. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It feels odd because it's only 6:06, so I guess I just feel maybe should we just stare at each other for a couple more hours? I don't know.
But we've been here since 4, so
That's
you
true.
know we're good.
That's true. That's true. Okay. So with that, we'll go through advanced planning. July 12th, 2021 is the Finance Committee meeting at 4:30 p.m. In the boardroom. And virtual. July 12th also is our next regular board meeting at 5:30 in the boardroom and virtual. July 26th, 2021, regular board meeting at 5:30. July 27th through the 28th, 2021 is our Tech Time virtual conference.
And President Galbraith?
Yes.
This is Board Member Coleman. Also, too, we need to go ahead and recognize that some of us will be attending the Leadership Conference with NMSBA July 8th through the 10th.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. Yep, that's in Towson. It's going to be wonderful. I wish I could be up there with you guys. That's okay. Okay. Anything else on that? Wynn, anything else or anyone else? Okay. All right. With that, our meeting tonight's adjourned. Thank you all so much for attending tonight.
I think Dr. Cleveland was trying to say something.
No, I'm just waiting goodbye.
Oh, she's waiting. Oh, okay. Oh, all right, then. All right. We'll see you guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Thanks, John, for everything. Thanks, Kim. Thanks. I know you guys are in here. Thanks, Claudia.
You're welcome.